I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order at 6:02. I'll start by saying that we have a couple of the incoming directors in attendance that will be taking many of our places come May 1st. I suppose if they're interested, I'd invite them to introduce themselves, the new directors, so that you can know who each other are, and then the people here also can know who's joining us next year. If we have any volunteers to introduce themselves.
I'll start.
All right.
I'm between 3A and 3B on a co-op right now, and I'm in arts psychology. I think I'm the only arts director coming in for the year.
Very much. I think we also had Matthew on the call. Oh, Steph, you want to move forward? Well, we'll finish with these couple because I think we only have a couple on the call. And I'll ask Matthew you to go ahead, and then we'll go to Alexander, and I think that's everybody.
Hi, everyone. My name's Matthew. I'm in between my 2A and 2B terms. I'm studying nanotechnology engineering, and I will have to leave at 6:30, but I just wanted to introduce myself to everyone, and I look forward to working with some of you in May.
Thank you very much, Matthew. And going right along to Alexander.
Hi, my name's Alex. You can just call me Alex instead of Alexander. I'm an incoming director I'm in knowledge integration. I'm in my 2B. Yeah, I'm looking forward to starting on the board of directors soon, and I've got to leave too. I've got to leave early as well, but looking forward to starting.
Thank you very much for joining us. I'll be slightly more verbose in explaining the meeting as we move forward, with the understanding we've got some new people in attendance that might not know how things work, but we'll move right along. Normally we move in the order of the agenda items, but today we have a special order, and we have Steph, who is off on work, so we're good that she needs to be around just for that item. So we're going to move right to special order 3.1, and then we'll move back to where we were in the agenda. Actually, I think I have to call to order and approve. I think I have to approve the agenda first. I think. So we'll go to approval of the agenda. Is there any? Can I get a mover and a seconder for the agenda as presented? Jeff will move. Iman will second. Is there any problems with the agenda as presented, with the understanding we're moving to special order immediately after this? Not hearing anything. I'll assume consent on that item, and we'll move right to item 3.1, fiscal year 2024 board advisor selection.
So I think the best would be if you guys would email me any questions that you have. I can forward those along to the board advisors, get answers from each of them, and then bring that to the next meeting for you.
Is the intention to have a board advisor approved for today, or is that to come the intention that to come to another meeting? Because it looks to me right now that the hoping was for a decision today.
I believe the intention was for someone to move. I can't, but move this to the next meeting.
Matthew, I'm just going to do that right now. Originally, when I had added the item to the agenda, I had anticipated that we'd be more prepared to have this conversation, and I think just given that some folks are missing and other board members have expressed an interest to bring the board advisors in to speak with them directly or have a little bit of a back and forth, it might make more sense to wait a little bit longer. I also think it might be useful to have the incoming board, who will likely be more available on the 20th, to speak a little to it. I would advise us to have some conversations right now about what we're looking for, and board members who are not present today can talk a little bit to that. But yeah, that's just generally what I advise, because Denver also, due to the events, can't really speak to things right now, and it's unfortunate that the board meetings sort of lined up this way, but that's sort of my preference here. I'm sorry, I forgot to ask seconder.
Yeah. Would you like to move that then?
Yes, I'd like to motion to postpone consideration of this motion until the subsequent board meeting.
Is there a seconder for that? Jeff? Angela, is that a second or a speak?
Yeah, it was a second.
Okay, well, I'll go to Jeff. I saw him first. Is there any discussion for that on moving forward? Jeff?
If people are open to it, I think we can still start some initial conversation of what we've seen so far. That way we might also get a better, there's some word for this, combination of questions to send forth to the board advisors, prospective board advisors, if people are open to that.
Okay, if there's an interest in that kind of discussion, I'd just ask for like, what is the intention we have to sort of achieve something here today? Because we can talk in a discussion for a while. What are we looking for as a result of today?
To piece together some questions that we might have for the board advisors. Like people can come up with them on their own and send them as well, but some as a board we might also decide through conversation that we want to know the answer to.
Okay, if that's what the board is interested in doing, we can pass this item and then we can proceed to that. Do you want to be around for that stuff? If there's nothing binding happening right now?
No, I prefer to get running because I do need to host some people and give a speech very soon, so I need to turn my attention back to WUSA.
Okay, in that case, unless there's any objection, we can move forward with the motion to push this to next meeting, and we can have a sort of, air some questions out. But I might ask that we push that to the end of the meeting, just because discussions can tend to take a while, and I'd rather get through all of our regular business first. If that works, unless there are any objections, I don't see anything online. All right, then, is there any other discussion on the motion to move this to next meeting? Not seeing anything. We can, I'll assume consent on that unless anyone wants to voice their objection now. Again, not seeing anything. We will return to where we were in the agenda before, which was just after the approval of the agenda. I'll now move to the territorial acknowledgement. Is that somebody online trying to say something? I'll move forward then. The Board of Directors acknowledges the University of Waterloo is on the traditional territory of the neutral Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee peoples. Our organization operates on the Haldeman Tract, land promised to 6 nations, which includes 6 miles on each side of the Grand River. Moving right along to 1.4 oral conflict of interest declaration. In relation to any of the items of business on the agenda for this meeting, does any director have an actual perceived or potential conflict of interest? Not seeing or hearing anything. We'll move along to the reports section, right along to the executive director report. So I'll turn first to Suzanne. Did you have anything to present along with your written report?
No, not really. It's relatively short and sweet. I just didn't want to wait another week. I wanted to update the board and Kumar specifically in terms of just that we've got a revised reopening of the bomber space. I think that we talked potentially about the end of March, maybe beginning of April, but just wanted to note to the board that we're looking to be on track to reopen for May 2023.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions, comments, or otherwise for the executive director's report? I'll go to Jeff first.
Alongside the reopening, are we planning any sort of messaging to the student body about the space, or is it just going to be pretty obvious that it's open for everyone?
I'm going to ask Kumar if he has any communication with marketing and communications and what that plan might look like.
We haven't connected with them yet, full transparency, just because this target has been a moving timeline. It's been a moving target. This opening has been a moving target. So as soon as, May 1 is when we're hoping to actually have it open and functioning, and we're very close. We got a couple things left. So we will be meeting with them for communication strategy, particularly just around some signage and whatnot around the building, possibly around our digital signage, letting students know that the space is there to open for additional lunch and and lounge seating.
Thank you. Thank you, Kumar. Are there any other questions for the executive director's report on this or any other item? Not seeing or hearing anything. If I missed you online, feel free to call out. I believe I'm catching it, but I might miss it. We will then move forward. We've already completed the special orders. So we'll move right to the general orders. Item 4.1, approval of the minutes of the meeting held March 23rd, 2023. Those are our board meeting minutes, the public minutes from that meeting. Can I get a mover and a seconder for the minutes? Naman and Chen. Was there any discussion, amendments, anything that has to come forward for the minutes? Not seeing or hearing anything. We'll go ahead and I'll assume consent in approving the public minutes unless there's any objection. And then we'll move to item 4.2, elections recap 2023, submitted by the marketing manager. And I'll turn it over to them if they're here or whoever else is going to be presenting it.
Yeah, I was supposed to send the meeting invite to Alex because he's the one that's supposed to do this, but I kind of like omitted him, so I'm really sorry about that. But if anyone has questions or comments, I can always pass them along to him. And if he needs to come speak to it at a subsequent meeting, I would make sure he's available.
Thank you. Were there any questions that or comments anyone had on this report, either that to see if the staff present can answer or if we can send along? Angela, I see you.
Is this including the second document, like the general elections recap, or? Because I have a question about that.
I believe so, yes. We're looking at them both, although just one's on screen. If you have something to ask with the other one, sure.
Yeah, this might be a slightly dumb question, but for the third goal, like that says recruit at least 20 students to run for open position. Does that mean that the goal is to have at least 20 students in total, or for advertising to recruit, to be like the cause of recruiting 20 people? That makes sense.
I'll ask if any of the staff are able to answer that question. I imagine the answer might be in general, just because it's hard to tell exactly what causes somebody. But do any staff have a particular answer? Or do we want to pass that one along to Alex?
I was just more so wondering if it was more like we wanted to like have advertising based on all of the suggestions that were given in the report, that be like something that would drive 20 people to apply versus just 20 people applying in general. Is pretty much my question.
I see. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, I think Alex is here now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Suzanne called me in. I was just online listening. Yeah, I was listening through YouTube.
Oh, awesome.
So yeah, that was our minimum goal from a marketing point of view from our original promotional plan, to get at least 20 students to run for those positions, so that we were hoping amongst those 20 candidates there'd be some competition without us driving the communication of the election. Having 20 or more people would be beneficial to the marketing noise on campus around the election.
Does that answer your question, Angela?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any other questions around the elections recap 2023 report? I know everyone's very excited for it, but not seeing anything. We can proceed along to item 4.3, fiscal year 2024 fees, the CPI increase. This is a very regular thing to come to the board. Fees are a function of the board, and a CPI increase is a very regular thing that's done based off the CPI from the calendar year prior, generally, if I recall correctly. One thing I will note is I believe that this mistakenly the document presented failed to include the student publications fee, and the intention was the student publications fee would also be indexed to inflation. And if that's correct, I'll look for an amendment to it to index it by inflation as well. Is that correct, Suzanne?
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah.
All right. Could I ask for a motion to amend the student publications fee to be indexed by inflation the same as the others? Catherine? Can I get a seconder? Naman? Thank you. Is there any discussion on the pure proposal, on just the proposal to index the student publications fee as well? It was just an operational oversight, but Naman, please go ahead.
I guess I'm mildly curious to know how we accidentally wrote down unchanged.
I would imagine the unit didn't communicate it as early,
Okay,
but
right.
if there's a particular end to that, that can be. Yeah, okay, sounds like that was it.
Sure.
Yeah. Any other discussion? Not seeing any, I'll assume consent on that amendment, and we'll just go to it generally. Is there any discussion about this slate of fees and the proposals to index the WUSA fees by inflation? I think all of them by inflation, and then the student society fees by whatever amount was ratified by the student societies.
Can I also just note something, Matthew, that the motion needs to read for, not for fiscal year 2024, but to be in effect starting September 2023?
Yes, yeah, we'll
adjust that when you get there. Okay.
Yeah, we'll make that minor change just after if there's any discussion on these fees.
Sorry, yeah.
But it seems like people are all feel very well versed in all the fee discussions that have happened in the past. So I'll ask finally for any other comments on fees. And also, I should be clear, the incoming directors that we have are also welcome to ask any questions that they have. If you, I know these meetings it can be a little esoteric, and you know, the procedure might not be something you're fully comfortable with yet. But we're very willing to entertain any questions about the business or about how things are proceeding, because you're coming in soon. So I'd love it if you just do as much as you needed. But it looks like Jen has a question.
Just out of curiosity, what is WUSA GRP UPass 2% strategic reserve for?
We, since I believe the strike that occurred a couple years ago by GRT bus drivers, I believe that that's directed into a fund that could serve to reimburse students for travel costs if there were more strikes in the future, so that they wouldn't be entirely left without transit. I think that that's correct. Is that true,
correct.
Suzanne?
Yes, that is correct.
Very contingent.
Naman?
So does that fund just grow indefinitely?
I believe it has a set cap, but like where it's like most funds have a target balance. I don't know what that fund is, and then generally you grow the fund by a small amount every year until it reaches its target, so that it's able to support you for whatever you need. And once it reaches its target, you don't grow it until it's taken down again. I assume that that's the case with this one as well, Suzanne.
Matthew, you're going to test my memory on that. I agree with you in principle. That's exactly when we set up reserves. They have a target and usually an end. And for some reason, 2 million sits in my mind, but I'd have to look it up for you and get back to you. It's probably online in a procedure, but I can get back to you if you'd like.
We can look at getting back to you on that. Matthew, I saw a question from you.
Yeah. Is this all based off like last year's CPI data from the government of Canada?
I believe it will be from, yes, StatScan from calendar year last year, unless the standard about wages has changed. Is that true? Yeah, it looks like CPI calendar year 2022, 6.8%.
And it doesn't matter like which category of inflation data per item, or no?
I will defer to whoever made this up.
Yeah, we just use the overall average,
like the average
number.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Chen, I think I saw your hand up as well.
Yeah, I was curious about the Environment Student Society. It looks like they're going from, unless my eyes deceive me, $12.5 to $17.5. Do they have an exception for that?
When it comes to society fee increases, we treat those as subject to their own governing documents, whatever those are, like the society's constitution. Generally, that means ratified at a society general meeting, and then we rely on those society execs to communicate them to us per the society's MOU. So that will be their prerogative, and broadly, so long as they're following their systems, we don't see it as our place generally to ask for justification. If they're asking for $100 of increase or something, maybe that'd be different. But that's probably why. I don't know if any other rationale was put forward. You can also see that they're moving from optional to compulsory, which is also up to environment students. Thanks. Any other questions? Jeff, you look like you had one.
No.
Okay. Is there any other questions, comments, anything about the fee schedule proposed for starting September?
Oh, actually, sorry, I do have one. With the student society fees, especially in the case of the Arts Student Society, what does the process look like? Do they just come with us saying, hey, we've ratified this? Or do you like send out reminders for the deadline?
In terms of
the student society fees?
It's oftentimes and sometimes a reminder might be set that just like, hey, here's the deadline or something. But it's generally up to whether they chose to go through that process at whatever their last general meeting or process was.
What's the difference between optional and compulsory RAP?
What does RAP stand for?
Oh, refundable after payment.
Refundable after payments, yes. That's good. Thank you. All societies, it looks like, that are going compulsory are broadly moving back to the pre-student choice initiative model, where they charge at point of payment, and then they have other mechanisms to opt out later if you wish. In the context of MathSoc, that means that you go and you request your payment back, and then I believe they just monitor if you use any of their services through the term and then return it at the end.
Is that new? Because that's, I guess, not how it's been done, at least for this term.
That should be how it's done this term. If they are not being given the my understanding is that all of them have been refundable after payment by society.
I guess on Quest, you just like check or uncheck the box. So is there any difference between?
You can't uncheck the box.
You can't uncheck the box?
You can't uncheck the box is what compulsory means.
Okay.
You can't uncheck the box, but you can go through some process after the fact to get it.
I guess it's maybe not worth discussing here, but like right now you can't uncheck the box.
On which societies?
Engineering for not like that.
That's not supposed to happen. They should reach out to us and we'll reach out to finance.
Okay.
Because that'll be a trouble with finance. Was there any other questions for the fee schedule as presented? Not seeing anything. I will ask also for someone to amend this to say not for fiscal year 2024, because that starts the 1st of May, but rather starting September 2023. If I could get a motion from Catherine and a second from Damon for that amendment. Is there any discussion on that amendment? Not seeing anything, I will assume consent, and we will move back to the main motion. Was there any final questions, comments, discussion on the fee schedule as presented? Not seeing anything, I'll ask for all of those in favor to raise their hands. See it as unanimous in here, and well, if nobody says anything online, I'll assume you vote in favor. All of those opposed to the fee schedule as presented? Not seeing anything. All those abstaining, you can note that in the chat or whatever. All right, then it passes unanimously, and we'll move right along to the standing item on discussion on communication between student governance and at-large body, noting that, well, no, we'll just move right along to that item. Is there anything that anyone wishes to update on this? I'm not sure who normally speaks to this. I think it might be Steph that normally starts the discussion. So I don't know if there's anything that wants to be said to this, but now is your chance. Not seeing anything, we'll move on from this standing item and move to other business in public session. Is there any other business for public session that anyone would like to bring forward? Understanding that we will have a discussion about just around questions people might have to put forward for the board advisors after we finish business of confidential session, so we can get through all of our regular business for the day. Not seeing any new business. Just gotta find where we were, sorry. Not seeing any new business. I'll say that we have, I'll ask for a motion to move into confidential session. Catherine?